And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Alan Steinfeld, author and public speaker of Human Potential, Metaphysics, and Cosmic Intelligence. For over 30 years, Alan has hosted and produced the weekly series New Realities on both YouTube and television in New York City. Alan, welcome back. It's great to have you again.
You know, Jeff, I think you do a great show. You're intelligent with fantastic questions. So anytime you need a guest to fill in or just show up, let me know because I'm happy to talk to you.
Well, thank you very much. And be careful that you said that because you never know. I might come knocking on your door when you least expect it.
Well, if I'm free, I'm happy to talk to you because I think you're putting out a good message and you're sincere in your questions. I mean, I think just my opinion, you're doing because you want to know. You're not just doing it to put on a podcast. You're doing it because there's something in you that's genuinely open about what the knowledge is coming into the planet at this point. So, yeah.
Well, since you've been doing this for over 30 years, how are you inspired to keep doing it? How are you not getting burned out?
Well, one way, and some people might not like it, I don't take any of it seriously. Not that I don't believe it, but you know, I take it all in as possibilities. So it's not like I have to believe everybody I talk to, but I'm taking in their perspective and kind of putting together a piece of the puzzle. So I'm like an information junkie in a sense. I crave that. So it doesn't burn me out because it feeds me new ideas. Like I call the show New Reality. So like, okay, what's this person's insight? So, you know, I take in the pieces that I can that work with my own evolution of awareness and, you know, don't take in some that don't resonate with me. So, I mean, you keep going, maybe for the same reason or different. I don't know. How do you keep going, Jeff?
Well, that's a great question. I guess I just love what I do.
Yeah. I would say I crave new knowledge. It's like it's food. So, yeah, it doesn't burn me out because there's always somebody new out there with a new idea. And because consciousness is evolving through us at the leading edge of this kind of new perspective, right? So we're not mainstream. We're not on, you know, television. We're not confined by regulations of what we can say and what we don't. So it gives us the opportunity to really go as far out as we want to go. And that's where the new ideas come from. That's where the new realities are formed.
Well, like me, you probably hear a ton of information and probably a lot of it is conflicting. So how do you navigate through all that and determine what suits you?
Well, even in this book, I have 12 different essays by 12 different people. And some of it is conflicting. A lot of it's in alignment, but they're all from different perspectives. So, you know, I listen to what people say, but I don't buy it as absolute truth. All these perspectives are filtered through what I know and my awareness. So I'll take a little piece there and a little piece there and merge it into my own understanding of reality. So if someone says something's conflicting with what I believe or what someone else believes, I give people some space for their truth, but it doesn't have to be my truth. That's how I deal with it all. It's like, you know, there's people claim to go to Mars, or there's civilization on the dark side of the moon or under Antarctica. I use my own personal discernment and see, okay, how much of this truth integrates with what I already know? How much of this truth is an opportunity to expand? And how much of it is just ridiculous? You know, it's like, that's where I go with it. So it's moment to moment.
You grew up in Manhattan and you grew up around influential people like Andy Warhol and Alex Gray. How have these experiences shaped your perspectives on new realities?
Well, I have to say, I didn't grow up there, but after college, I went to the East Village, which in the early 1980s was a kind of a hotbed of creativity. So I wasn't necessarily interested in this level of spiritual awareness or UFOs, but I was around these artists that were cutting edge. Like Andy Warhol, he didn't invent pop art, but he was a proponent of a kind of cultural phenomena that allowed art to be seen in a new way. He was an innovator of personality and being and culture. So I looked for artists who have always been at the cutting edge of new ideas. Alex Gray, when I first walked into one of his galleries, before anyone really knew him, I was blown away by these visions of bodies turning into light. So art for me is an avenue into new realities because it opens up a cognitive awareness of something else, of something I had yet to know to be true. So the arts for me are still a foundation for letting making the unknown known, which is what the kind of the subtext of new realities is about. How do we know more than what we know? And I love the quote by Terence McKenna. He says, if the artist can't find the way cannot be found, meaning that, you know, you're an artist in what you do. You allow a flow, and this gets back to remote viewing, you allow this flow of forever to enter your mind to formulate new ideas in new ways. And that was a big influence on my photography, which I was doing at the time, and leading into what is the nature of reality. It's perception. And so if an artist like Andy Warhol, Alex Gray, or even Keith Haring, he said to me once, he would put up these pictures on the subway. He said, take a picture of me. I'm going to be famous. He says to me, this Keith. I said, you're not going to be, I didn't say this out loud, but I thought, you're not going to be famous. You're just doing chalk drawings on a subway. And, you know, that was my like limited view that this guy had something new and original. So I learned from that. It's like, okay, where's the new and original coming from that I may not even be open to, because I'm always looking for that, but someone comes along with this other new idea and it's like doesn't fit into my reality. It's like, okay, I missed that one, but I'm going to get the next one. So I'm always looking for the new, whether it is in consciousness, spirituality, creative action. Like when I first read an article by Bruce Lipton, no one knew him. I sought him out. I showed up at his house in in California, and he talked to me for 3 hours, basically about what he's still saying about the epigenetics of cellular transformation based on conscious awareness to evolve the structures in the cell. And it's like, wow, that was new, but I'm excited by original thinkers. And you know, there's books that people have yet or have forgotten about, where there's amazing insights into new levels of thought that have been forgotten. Like, well, there's lots of people out there. Walter Russell. People have totally forgotten about him. Brilliant mind. Wilhelm Reich. I mean, people know about him, but they really don't know what he's discovered about orgone energy and the flow of these, you know, new ways of perceiving. So there's, you know, I love the saying, you want to learn something new, read an old book. So I'm in a way always on the lookout for the next or the thing that people have forgotten or putting it together. I mean, that's exciting. It doesn't burn me out. It actually feeds my curiosity, which is what I hope to bring to other people. Like, what's really going on here? Who are we? What is our potential? You know, I know people like Joe Dispenza before anyone knew him. And it's like, yeah, we kind of were part of the same mystery school, and it's like he's teaching how to tap into the quantum field, but that's what I'm teaching as well with remote viewing. So anyway, we are evolving as a culture, as a spiritual culture, and I'm just want to be as much on the edge as I can. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
It does. And many times I've told guests or people in the audience that I view each one of these podcasts as its own separate work of art that I just put out there. I know it's not traditional like painting or print or whatever, but I still kind of view it from that perspective.
I totally agree. It is an art for you. This is your art form, using your intelligence to kind of dive into the nature of what that person knows. That is an art form. And I know you enjoy it, and I'm happy you're doing it. So, yeah, yeah.
The interesting thing is, in almost every video, if you look in the comments, there'll be at least one person that thinks it's total BS. And then many times you'll say, this is the best podcast that you've ever done, all on the same
Right.
show.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing to get the range of criticism. So, people have their own opinions. Most of those people with negative comments just want to hear themselves talk, and that's okay. You give them an opportunity. So what are you going to do? People have opinions.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about remote viewing, but before I go there, I want to just catch up a little bit on the current events in the UFO world. Like, what do you think about this Bugosphere?
Bugosphere? What is that again?
That's that sphere that they found in like Colombia or somewhere. And I saw now there's one in China, some kind of metallic ball that's seen floating in the air, and somebody has one.
I think these could be UFO, ET drones type vehicles. I mean, there's always something new like that, like the drones over in New Jersey that happened in November, December. What's that about? And why
Yeah.
isn't the government coming up with any information? So we are being seeded, I think, with the mystery, and it's coming to a breaking point where I think something inside government, the secrecy, is going to cave in on itself because it'll be too much. But it's a slow drip, drip, drip to the leaking of disclosure. And in Diana Paselka's book, I don't know if you read her book, but she talks about the gifting fields, and there's been seeds of knowledge and awareness and investigations that, like the crop circles of England, those are glyphs, I think, from ET races to help evolve an awareness. So is a co-creation with human consciousness and the kind of holding back of information that allows citizens to come forward with the truth. And I think what you said before, I don't know if it's on or off the air, where whistleblowers are feeding us a narrative, and there's so much chaotic infusion. It comes back to each person. What do I believe to be true, and what is possible, and who do I trust? So it's a person to person discernment in a way. So I don't know about those metal spheres. I think there's something to that, but whatever there is to it, that's just not the whole story. I mean, that's just a little side view. What's really going on here is the story.
Well, you were just out at Contact in the desert. Did you go outside during any of their UFO CE5 events and see anything?
Well, Chris Bledsoe had about 800 people outside. I wasn't there for the thing he predicted that would show up, because I was talking to Diane Powell, actually. But I've been out with Chris Bledsoe on other occasions, and he does have the ability to call in craft, and they show up. And I've seen things in the sky, not just with Chris. I was out at Mount Shasta with Hope Fitzgerald. I don't know if you have interviewed her, but she is
at Isetti Ranch. No, that's a different place. Yeah,
it was out at the west side of Mount Shasta, and right through that little later part of the Big Dipper, there were these craft that were coming every like 10 minutes. These little white craft. So, and then there was a big sphere that floated just very low in the sky. So, I mean, I've seen that stuff before. There's something out there that wants to make contact or is making contact on one level. And so it's a slow acclimation. So I think it's up to the phenomena to slowly indoctrinate the human population with its presence. That's my feeling about it.
So did you see some of those plasma orb things with Chris Bledsoe?
I didn't see it there, but I have seen it a few times with Chris in other places. I didn't see it at Contact in the Desert. Some people claim to have, and he claims to have predicted. He's a great guy, Chris. I cannot say enough amazing, nice things about Chris because he is a pure being. He's like the saint in the UFO world. He's comes from a lot of integrity and a lot of compassion and a lot of love. And he's bringing another level of awareness to the UFO world that transcends the hardware. You know, the government wants to have, he always talks about the government showing up at his door, but he says it's about love, it's about angelic presence, it's about expanding the human heart. So, I mean, that's Chris's point of view. I think there's also other stuff. I think it's, you know, technology, it's an awakening of our minds. So we're not going to get that from government, who's just interested in how we're going to weaponize this. So Chris is an important person in the field. I have seen stuff with him. Yes.
From all the discussions I have, I feel I'm at the point where disclosure is truly up to the ETs. And
Absolutely.
you agree with that. And so what do you think their ultimate goal is, or their intention behind their making contact with us?
Well, you know, the big question that everyone has, are they good or are they bad? Are they here for our benefit or are they here for their benefit? Do they want to just take our genetics? I mean, I think we have to decide not one way or the other. There's been awful things that have happened with ET. People have been burned, they've been traumatized. We have to look at both sides. And you know, I take like what John Mack says, you know, is it ultimately here for our evolution? He says UFOs are like an outreach program from the cosmos for the consciously impaired. That's us. So I think when I've looked at the good and bad parts, I mean, I think I've been traumatized in my own abduction. I mean, because I haven't remembered it, but on another level, I was pulled into this world by that contact that has made everything so much more interesting. So, you know, I think it was Carl Jung said, we have to decide, is the universe a friendly place? Is it for us or against us? So I've come out on the side that the phenomena is for us. It's for evolution. I may not be right. I mean, there may be, you know, to serve man, you know, that. But I think from what my experience has been and the opening of my own awareness, I think it's here for our evolution. I think it's here to, and it's not going to solve our problems for us. You know, we're making wars, we're polluting the planet. It's not going to clean up the mess we've made. We need some self-responsibility. Just why is there war? Why is one country bombing? What is the point? Why are we making more weapons? And, you know, ultimately it's up to the phenomena to decide, but it's also up to us to see how ready are we to make peace with each other. If we can't make peace with each other, which is, I think, what they're waiting for, how are we going to welcome a whole other level of consciousness that is very different than what we've known into our awareness if we're still coming from a very 3D mentality that, you know, it's imagine John Lennon, imagine all the people living for today. I mean, everything in that song, of course, he was shot down because maybe that was too, but it's up to us to come to the level where they are ready to share the gifts of their technology, their free energy, their next level of perception with us. And it's a slow acclimatization of it, but we have to do our part. So it's up to the phenomena, it's also up to us.
Many times I talk about quantum physics with guests, and we talk about how it comes from an observer dependent reality. But
Right.
we still live in this 3D world, and it's an objective physical world. Where is the bridge between the two, and how do we work with it in daily life?
The problem with the 3D world is that we're using Newtonian physics, which is 400 years old, to run our planet. We have not put the ideas of quantum possibilities into practical application. Yeah, there's quantum computing and there's quantum, microchips, but we haven't integrated the fact that the observer affects reality. So that has to be taught. Like, thoughts are things. If you're looking at something, you are affecting it. You're influencing it. This consciousness is sending. Sorry, just a little. Our consciousness is. It's not taught. We're not trained. We're trained to not trust our own observation. We're trained to listen to what the culture is telling us to do. Where we need a re-education of who we are. So quantum physics, which is really not a science yet, it's just a label for phenomena. There's no quantum physics that actually maybe is put into application. Maybe I don't know enough about it, but we need to run our world on quantum understandings. Like, we are all entangled here, which means we don't stop with the body. It means the effect of our fields go out into affecting each other. The vibrations. It's a vibrational science. Let's say it's a part where all of us are the center of creation, and Newtonian physics is just force-fed onto us like it's the absolute truth. So I think the bridge is in the re-education, where we realize who we truly are and what we're capable of, and some of the elements that we're all entangled, that we have the potential to affect reality with our thoughts. We can transcend time and space. It's sort of what Donald Hoffman was. I don't know if you ever interviewed him, but Donald Hoffman saying space and time are illusions. They're not realities. They're fabrications of the mind that we put into place and believe is real. But who we are as ultimate beings is transcendence. And this is what the remote viewing gets back to. It's like, we exist beyond time and space as a matter of our own essence. And we need to learn that and realize it and practice it. And then, we're not understanding ET technologies because we don't understand how they think. So there's a bridge here between what people are calling UFOs and now what they're calling UAPs. And I think that's an important distinction, going from unidentified flying objects to unexplained aerial phenomena. We're going from objects to phenomena. That's a huge leap. I don't know if that was intentionally put in there as a key to what this was really about, but the phenomena means it's interactive with who we are. We're not just an innocent bystander, like Grant Cameron says in his essay in the book. If you've seen a UFO, you are entangled with the phenomena. There are no innocent bystanders. I truly believe that. So we are part of this evolution towards a new way of thinking about the world we're in. And we need to step up, each one of us, and realize it's sort of Horton Hears a Who, that every who in Whoville has a voice to be heard.
Well, I think that's pretty amazing what you said, that changing it from UFO to UAP, that means that we are entangled in the phenomena. Is that what the government intended for the use of that term?
Well, I did just hear this interview with Jay Stratton. Do you know who Jay Stratton is, right? He was the guy behind ATIP.
Mm-mm.
He was the guy giving Elizondo orders. He's pulled a lot of strings behind the let me see. So he just said, I listened to X, even though it's such a like a war zone, UFO X or UFO Twitter. It's like, but he says, and he's like the guy. He's Lou Elizondo's boss. He talks to Hal Puthoff. He's one of the insiders. He's like, there's Lou Elizondo and there's who else is there. So he says. Unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAP, however you want to look at that. The phenomena is the key word in defining our understanding of this. This is straight from Jay Stratton just the other day. And he knows probably, he still says he doesn't know what it is, but he knows as much as anyone about it. So anyway, phenomena is key, and phenomena is what, if you look at the Chris Mellon document, slide 9, he says, what was once science fiction is now phenomena, or basically what we're dealing with is an interactive phenomena that is a two-way perception of reality. I'll just put it, that's my interpretation.
How do you think UFOs up in the sky are able to connect with people's thoughts here on the planet?
They know something about the mind and consciousness that we do not. Yeah, I often wonder, how is that possible? But maybe these thoughts that we just discount and that they can somehow manipulate even can, maybe these thoughts that they can manipulate are more signals than just the things in our heads. If you've ever walked in the room where there was an argument, you can realize that there's an energy here. There's something here. If you connect with people because your thoughts are aligned, you feel you like that person because the alignment of. So our thoughts, I think, are beacons of realities going out into space. Like I saw this ship, I think it was a ship, and I thought I saw a little blue beam coming out of it, and I thought, did I see a little blue beam? And just as I thought that, it emitted another beam, little burst. So how are they able to do it? Because they realize that the reality here is consciousness. That is really, that's how I understand it. And you're thinking things. If I was an ET, I would be able to get totally into your mind and hear every thought you're thinking, even through Zoom. So, and what in my latest talks, I realized that consciousness is an app. It's an application. How can we use consciousness? It's not just an idea of awareness. It's actually something to be used to understand the greater nature of the world. So what are we? We're the embodiment of consciousness, but we don't even understand what we have going for us. I mean, this is what remote viewing, this is what Uri Geller would do. He'd get into people's minds. This is what ETs do. So we're under the illusion that the world is physical, but it really goes back to what the Kabbalion said, the mind is all and the all is mind, which is the first law of the three initiates. It's like, so we have to reorientate ourselves to what energy is, what the power of consciousness really is, the entanglement of all our beings in time and space, the illusion of time and space, the infinite potential of the human being through these vehicles to know more of the unknown, to know everything about anything, anytime. And that's vast. That's a vast consciousness that we can have, but no one's ever told us who we really are and what our potential is. We've just been dumbed down to fit into a system that makes us, I'll just quote somebody, work for the man, basically. But, because like the internet and what you're doing, what I'm doing, we've allowed ourselves to create freedom of thinking that allows us to kind of break away from the system and think thoughts that maybe aren't acceptable by the masses that want to confine who we are into the limited realities that make them fit their models. So we're creating new models here, and all we could maybe do at this point is discuss among ourselves what's possible.
How does a person differentiate between a genuine spiritual awakening and a psychological or neurological phenomena that might mimic an experience?
Yeah, for me, I've seen both. And when someone has like a Kundalini awakening or conscious activation, they drop out of this self and expand. This is just my observation, into a greater energy field. And when people have the opposite, a neurological breakdown, my feeling is they're sort of collapsing within. They become more ego-centered. They become more self-absorbed. They narrow their capacities to feel into others. So those are some of the signs that I look for. How is this person truly expanding into this energetic phenomena, or how are they contracting into a limited space? And it's a case by case example. It's like, a lot of people claim spiritual expansion, and I judge it based on, and I do talk about judging or discerning based on what I feel are the proof of concept. I think that's a term in marketing. Proof of concept. Does it have other hallmarks of expansion, or someone just talking about their vision of UFOs? And yeah, I could be wrong or right. I can't. I mean, I have judged, but other people's reality is their reality. People say they've jumped to Mars jumping. It's like, well, I have a problem with that because I don't see any proof. Other people say they have had alien abduction, and it seems like, well, that seems almost impossible, but maybe there's another level of reality here that doesn't fit into the old picture. So I tend to think that is possible. Somehow it doesn't make sense, but I've had my experience that I've heard other people, it's like the framing of reality is very limited. So when I'm around people who seem expansive, I feel that, or at least I think I feel it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
I just want to say, is the same true for you? Because you've been, I don't mean to turn the table, but I think you're a good judge of. So is that true for you? Are you aware when someone's like having a psychotic break or having a conscious awakening?
Well, two things. One, when I'm with a guest, I don't position myself in a place where I'm trying to determine where they're coming from. But second of all, I don't know if I'm qualified to determine whether someone's having a psychotic break or not.
Well, I'm not qualified either. I just go by my feelings. So I'm not saying I'm qualified. It's total personal discernment. But yeah, okay. Sorry. What were you saying?
It's all right. It's all right. So you've mentioned remote viewing a couple times. For those people who are tuning in for the first time and may not even have any idea what it is, can you shed a little light on that?
So in the 1970s, the CIA became aware that the Russians had a psychic spying program. And of course, keeping up with the Russians or making the Russians keep up with us, they said, we can't let those guys do something we're not. So they went to the Stanford Research Institute, to Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ, to understand how this is possible, because obviously it seemed to be possible because the Russians were making progress in that. So they got this psychic called Ingo Swann, who developed a protocol for allowing anyone to develop this psychic awareness. I mean, there's always been psychics out there, but he's developed a particular protocol for understanding that. So he called it remote viewing, which was a lot, flashier than psychic spying, and started to organize the way people can tap into this awareness that is non-local. So what remote viewing is, it's the ability to suspend your input of the five senses and tap into something else that seems to be possible. You can tap into something that's not local into your space. There's something more than five senses. So I understand it as coming down to left and right brain, or your left brain is basically all the information that's been put on your computer. You know, someone's inputted that. That's what you know. That's the logic. And then if I come along and say, guess what? I can get information that's not on my local computer because I have this application of this internet. If you didn't realize that such a thing was possible of non-local information, you would think that's ridiculous. You would think that's, and how do you get something into your awareness that, but I say, well, there's this other possibility. And I say it's through the right brain that is tapped into the quantum field that really knows everything about anything all the time. We've just been very limited, and our development as in our culture since the time we were 5 was everything had to be left brain, had to be logical. We had to put it into language. You know, we had to name it. So all we've developed since the age of 5, unless you're an artist or an intuitive or some kind of creative person, you've kept that little window open. But basically, we've been taught the world is mechanistic, it's logical, and it's all reduced to what you can name and what you can count and measure. And I'm saying this right brain of ours has access to the quantum field. It is your internet that can know, and it doesn't make sense in the mechanistic worldview how you can know something that's not here, how you can be aware of this, but there's a cognition that we're capable of as human beings that can tap into the field. I just say, so there's no real explanation for it. People talk about the subconscious mind, but I just say we are tapped into this receivership of awareness. And so remote viewing happens. There's a target. There's something that someone is asking you to observe that's not in your local field. And instead of sending out, the left brain sends out signals. The right brain is the feminine brain. It's in receivership. By putting your intention on what someone else may have as the target, and it just may be a picture in an envelope, or maybe someone at a strange location, which is actually easier to do, with intention, dropping away, these images or awarenesses come flooding into you because the signal of that target with that intention is always talking to you. But it's not talking to you in names. It's talking to you in vague shapes and vague impressions of awareness. It's like, so when I ask people to remote view, let's say it's okay, I'm looking at this target, or someone is in France at the Eiffel Tower, say, where's this person? You may not get France, you may not get the Eiffel Tower, but you may get the feeling of a huge structure. You may get the feeling of metal and intricate designs. And so that's your psyche opening up to the field that's going beyond time and space, but you're getting the signal from that thing that's in a kind of new language of the right brain, which is descriptive.
Would you say that the right brain just collects raw data and the left brain tells the story?
I think that's a really great way of putting it. Ian McGilchrist wrote a book called The Master and the Emissary. The master is the raw data. The emissary then puts it into awareness, a cognition. It's like, if you ever saw the TED Talk by Jill Bolte Taylor, where she lost her left brain, she became just raw data. I think that's a really good way of putting it. I hadn't thought of that, but you're right. It's raw data that doesn't have a form, it doesn't have a name, but a part of us can describe the raw data. like the colors or the shapes, and all we have to do in remote viewing is make ourselves available to that target. And the target is like we set the GPS to a destination and we let it go and let the raw data pour in. And you write down as much of that raw data as possible based on the signal from the target. The problem is we have to separate the signal from the noise. So we're always getting raw data, but the mind's always analyzing it, saying that it's this, this, and this. So by allowing the signal to come in, we need to make the distinction between our quick snap reaction to the data. Oh, I know what it is. And let that go for a second so you can allow the raw data to land in its most effective, most unjudgmental space. And then the job of the left brain is to then see, okay, let's put all this data together and what do we make of it? But you can't do that until you're well deep into the process of collecting as much raw data as possible.
I was going to say, I would think you can't do that until you've finished remote viewing and then you look at your notes and then try to make sense of it all.
Well, the key thing is you never finish remote viewing because it's like a picture's, worth 1,000. You don't, I mean, you get enough raw data to make sense, but people write 30 pages about one target, and you don't just write what the target was in the remote viewing practice. You write about what's the purpose of the target, how was it made, what's the tasking, what did it do? It's like, so it's deeper and deeper. So in a way, yeah, you can finish the initial input, but everything is infinite, right? So, but you can't finish a minimal part. Like, I mean, I sometimes rush through it. Okay, just get your raw sense. And, but it's so vast and everything is infinite, everything around us. So, but it's a good practice. But the big question, Jeff, is how does the mind receive that raw data? I mean, where's the raw, how does it come into our awareness? So when I remote view, someone's asked me to remote view a target, I sort of like focus on whatever that intention is, and a picture appears in my mind. It's like, oh, and I trust that. Like you have to understand, I call it the yoga of consciousness. What is the signal and what is your monkey mind doing with it? And it's an inner process of getting as empty as you can. I think good psychics do that, and receiving the impression of a non-local source, which no one understands because it's not the subconscious. It's the part of us that's infinite, that's connected to the infinite field of awareness beyond time and space. That's the best way I can put it.
Do you think that we are manipulating or influencing the collective field? And if so, is there any potential danger or ethical considerations in doing so?
That is a big question people put up, but that's in a kind of an advanced process to influence. What I'm teaching is just to bring awareness. Of course, awareness may be influenced, but you try to maintain a neutrality. I mean, yeah, you could send your thoughts out. I guess that's what, witchcraft maybe is or whatever, but I don't do that. I don't think, you can influence the weather. We all send out positive thoughts. You can, in Lynn McTaggart's work, Power of 8, you can send healing energy to people, but whatever you're sending out is reflecting on you. So if you're sending out energy that's not positive, that's going to have a really probably not positive boomerang effect on you. So the more love, the more openness, the more available you are, that's expansion. If you're trying to do something and maybe influencing the weather is a pretty safe thing to do, because yeah, if there's a fire down the road, and maybe you can, and people have done this with a collective thought, because when two or more are gathered, you can affect that reality. So, but what I'm doing is just showing people that they can access information, and not to put your own like twist on that, because I'm not interested in that. Yeah, if people want to do that, it's probably not ethical, like to influence other people's thought. It's not ethical. Okay. But, that comes down to, is it ethical to go into someone's house because it's open and you take stuff? I mean, it's like, where's the ethics of that? It's like, so yeah, I think people know, um, morally, sensibly, what is ethical to do. I mean, that's a whole course. And yeah, I mean, I don't go there because I'm not interested in that. So yeah, but that's an aspect of what consciousness is, and it may be, actually getting back to the ETs, it may be what these ETs are doing, influencing our thoughts, influencing our perception, and we're in a way defenseless about that. We're seeing things that may or may not be there. We're having ideas that may or may not be our own. We're being directed places. That's a whole other level. Are they doing it for our good or their good? Well, I don't know. But that's a higher aspect of what I'm doing. I'm just trying to teach people what's possible with their own awareness.
Can you share with us some of your own personal success with remote viewing?
Yes. So I'm just also want to tell people I am teaching a 7-week course on just how to do the basics, how to pick up information from the quantum field by accessing the raw data. That's what everyone is capable of doing this. I've taught this to hundreds of people around the world, in person and online. And I'm always shocked when people get the target. I call that a bullseye. So you can target not so much people, but places, things, times, events. So I had this one target that I had like on my screen, or maybe it was in an envelope. I was teaching this group, and someone said, well, I see this water coming by. And someone else says, well, I see some structure there. And someone else says, it looks like an arch or something. So people get elements of the target, and my job as moderator sometimes to put it together. Like if we've all seen the same movie, I'd ask you what the movie is about. You might tell me something. This person, I put it all together, I might get the movie that was actually seen, but everyone has their own perspectives. It's true of remote viewing. So when someone saw a river, and someone saw an arch, and someone saw a little town, someone said, well, could it be the arch in St. Louis? And I said, yes, that's exactly what it is. And I think that's how the CIA worked. Remote viewers access different elements of the target, then you put it all together, and then you make an educated guess. But only after all the raw data is collected from all these people, you see what relates to each other and what may be extraneous, or what they call an analytical overlay, which is your conscious mind coming in and interfering. So one great success I had, we were doing an event. Okay, someone else was moderating, and it's not always good to tell people what aspect, but I sometimes do events like in human history, so this was an event, and someone said, okay. And sometimes we just give numbers. This is what they call controlled remote viewing. I'm sure you know that. I'm saying, okay, I'll give you the number of the target. In this case, I did know it was an event, just to make it a little easier. And it could be 1,000 different events, known or unknown. I mean, usually some world shattering event or something big, and there's thousands of those. So it could be anything, right? So if someone says, okay, I have this target, which is an event, and I close my eyes. You don't have to close your eyes, but I immediately get this picture, and I trust what comes to me, because part of it is emptying the vessel so you can receive what comes in. So I get this woman in this turn of a century clothing. It's like early 1900s or something, you know, big hat, these long dresses. And this is what comes to me as she's sitting in this field and there's sort of water in the background. I mean, it sort of looks like that painting a little bit. Um, Sunday in the Park with George, that old Cubist painting or pointillist paint. Anyway, reminds me of that period. And then so I'm looking at this image that's coming into my mind. I said, well, where's the event here? This is interesting. It's a pleasant landscape. Where's the event? And when I thought, okay, show me the event, I saw this kind of old style plane coming towards me. And I just made a sort of wild guess. Could this be Kitty Hawk, the Wright brothers flight, 1903? And shockingly, it was that. It's like that the element, and the idea is not to guess. It's to get enough elements. Maybe if someone was doing this with me, they'd give me other elements. But I thought, okay, here's a plane in the early 1900s flying to me near water, and I had been there a couple of years ago to that place, and so it just came into my awareness, and it's like, wow, I got that bullseye on that target. And it doesn't always happen that way because it's a practice. It is a spiritual practice, and there's apps, but I happen to really feel like, wow. Or somebody in a class of mine said, another target, she said, well, I see this huge figure and I see a lot of water around, and it's like this island, and it seems like this goddess sort of thing. And I said, okay, you have all those elements. What do you think it is? And she said, well, could it be the Statue of Liberty? And I said, that's exactly what it is. So the idea, though, is really not to come up with those guesses. The idea is to get as much raw data and then not actually guess, because guessing is all coming from the left brain. The idea is to get the data, use it, make sense of it, put all the pieces together, and then work as a team. And in this class I'm going to be doing, there'll be breakout rooms where people can work as teams. But first you have to be really clear that this is raw data you're getting and not the mind. And that's a practice to get the mind out of the way of what it thinks it knows. The left brain doesn't know anything. It just thinks it knows something. It's thinking. Who knows is the right brain, the brain that's tapped into the quantum field. That's the part. That's the difference between logos and gnosis. We know, like those telepathic kids on the telepathy tapes, they have, or they have direct knowing. They don't know how they know. In my experience, because I've interviewed one of them, there's a knowing. There's a knowing there. And so logic is what we make sense of the world based on a thinking, but thinking is different than knowing. Like, do we know we're here on Zoom, or do we believe or think we're here on Zoom? Knowing is the essential element of living, knowing. And when you're thinking about living, you're not living, you're in your mind. So, and when you're naming things, oh, that's a tree out there, you're not with the presence of things. So the idea is not to name, it's to describe in the living, knowing moment what you're feeling. So remote viewing has to do with feeling and allowing the essence of the target to come to you. You're in receivership.
For those people who are not psychic spies, what would they use remote viewing for in their daily lives?
Well, I use it to, since you're tapped into the right brain, you're tapped into this higher intuition, you become more creative because you're not listening to your linear awareness. You trust your intuition more. It's like, I always go to this restaurant down the street from me, and it's like, I just got the feeling, the intuition said, no, you don't need to go there. I said to myself, well, I'm really hungry. I like the food there. I think I'll go. But I sat down next to this person, had this awful cold. I got the cold because I didn't listen to the intuition. So I've learned to trust my intuition the best I can, hearing it. So you become more intuitive, you become more aware of energetic feeling. You can use it to maybe, like, I have a problem in the electrical system in my car. I tune into the car and see what pops out, what stands out. You could do it as medical mediumship too. You could look into people's body. I don't recommend you make a diagnosis, but you can see where maybe someone needs a little more work in their body. You let the awareness talk to you. I sometimes use it when I do go to dinner and I say, okay, if I ordered this on the menu, how would my body feel after I ate this? You check in with yourself. And it's a very practical way. It's like, okay, how should I walk home today? What's the best way? Where will I discover something interesting? So it's a day-to-day practice. It's a moment-to-moment awareness, letting this right brain, the master, not the emissary, direct your way of being. Because you know what? The right brain is always talking to us. Sometimes you get insight. Sometimes you get a flash of a friend you haven't talked to in a while. And it's just like pops in and you go, nah, and then that friend calls you. Well, the right brain the right brain is your dreaming brain. It's tapped. And you know what, Jeff? We are always dreaming, but the left brain makes such a loud noise, we don't notice it. That's my philosophy. And the dreams are telling us realities.
Right before you go to sleep or right when you wake up, at least for me, sometimes I'll lay there and all these random images will come to my mind. And I'm wondering, is it something of value? Am I tapping into something, or is it just random noise? Would that be similar to remote viewing?
It's similar to the process of allowing those images to come through. I get rent, part of what helped me kind of learn remote viewing and teach is studying with the Aborigines, the Australian Aborigines. I went to Australia. I met this beautiful clan of people, and this one guy, Paul, told me dream time is our religion. And dream time means as you fall asleep, you watch those random images come in and you start to interact with those random images. If you have enough awareness, first they come in, then you know you're in dream time because these random images are coming in. Then you can be in that world, and kind of interact with the dream time and kind of feel your way through that other reality. So yeah, I think those random images are the infinite field, and they could be random images of you're picking up the thoughts of someone next door, or anywhere. And I think, well, I'm hearing these strange conversations. Just become the observer of it all. And then you could put an intention into that field. This is dream time. But there's something renewing of vitality when you tap into. At least I feel like these naps that you drift off into, and those images flow in, because we're in this other reality. The body's renewed, so it is related to. Yes, I think so.
Are you going to be teaching this in San Diego at the Transcendence Retreat?
I'm glad you brought up the Transcendence Retreat. I'm going to be mentioning that. My main focus now is teaching it at the Shift Network, and you could give people the links. In San Diego, I'm going to be talking about the nature of the quantum mind, which includes psionics, which is a popular word these days, how the human mind can interact with these UFO craft, remote viewing, which is tapping into the infinite field to nowhere beyond time and space. I'll be talking about telepathy, how the reality, and what makes that so convincing is that because these telepathy tape kids, I'll just call them, don't have an overdeveloped sense of language, their right brain is much more available to psychic phenomena. So I'll be talking about letting go of the semantic realities that we live in. So we name everything and we think that's what the world is. So we call this thing out there a tree, And once we call it a tree, we actually freeze it in time and space, and it'll always be what we label it. So we live in a world of names, and we don't live in a world of living things. So that's sort of what I'll be talking about, how remote viewing taps us into the field of being that's always flowing through us, the infinite source, the creative force of existence is flowing through our right brain all the time, and our left brain is qualifying, no, it's this, this, and this. But somehow, if we can surf at the edge of forever and be present and embodied enough, we can realize in the body the infinite nature of why we've incarnated here in the first place. You know, that's sort of a quick overview of what I'll be talking about and demonstrating with someone who's really going to demonstrate embodiment and what that means, and how people can become more alive, you know, because that's really why we're here. We have a nice conversation, we're talking, and we're both at the edge of our awareness to communicate the thoughts as they're coming through us, to be as present as we can. That's what I like about you. You're present.
Thank you. If we step back and look at the big picture, do you think that we are just coming here to experience physicality, emotions, all the drama, the 3D world, and maybe we're not even supposed to be digging deep into all this quantum stuff because that's not the point of even coming here?
No, I think the point of coming here is to dig deep into the quantum stuff, because that expands experience. So yeah, we're here to have experiences, but we're also here to use the intelligence to discover more of reality, because I think we're geared towards that. And it's an ever-changing picture. You know, one of my favorite quotes by R.D. Laing, if you know who he was, he said, yes, what did he say? He said, yesterday the world was a machine. Today it's a computer or a quantum computer. He didn't quite say that. He says, who knows what rattle will shake at tomorrow's world? They were always qualifying stuff based on the sense we're making, the simulation theories or whatever. But it's none of these, but it's like chasing the horizon. We're moving towards something, because I think the adventure of being an experience is to expand the experience. It's what my teacher said, Ramtha. He said, we're here to make known the unknown. That's the reason for our incarnation. Yeah, to enjoy it all, to be embodied, but to pursue possibilities, to be creative. And that's, I think, creativity, when it can become a common human theme, is the flowering of civilization, where each of us realizes our creative potential by bringing something that has not previously been here before, a new song, a new dance, a new podcast, whatever, into the field of awareness. We expand each other. I think that's the reason for incarnation, the adventure of making known the unknown.
What do you think about the future of AI? And do you think it's possible that eventually the relationship will be human and AI relationships, and potentially people will have relationships with robots?
Yeah, I know. I love that movie, Her, which was all about that. And it was really predicted what some people are telling me now. Some people are saying, well, I get more from this AI being. And it's a little sad, because I don't think there's a ghost in the machine there. I think it's so cleverly programmed that it appears as if it's human. Like I had an interview with Sophia Hansen, the robot. She looks really human. And I was talking to her, and she has all the facial reactions, but there was a total emptiness in there of a soul. So I don't think AI will ever be ensouled. It has the illusion of that, just like looking at this human face had the illusion of comprehension, but humans have gotten very smart to program something that can respond emotionally to people, but they're really just responding to what that person's putting out there. So people may, if they're lonely enough, develop relationships with AI, but it's a relationship with their own reflection. I think part of the adventure of relationships is to meet someone who's not programmed, who's available. I mean, we're all programmed in some ways, but I think it has come to that for some people, but I think that's sad because, of course, it's easier to have a relationship with someone who's just, feeding back who you are. But the real mission or adventure is to go beyond the known and have relationships with someone who may challenge you, who may, so that's my answer.
Well, is it possible it's just all a matter of tech? And once the tech gets there, not only will the robot seem so human that potentially could it know you or me or anybody, the human condition so well, it could become a mentor.
I think it can be that, but I think we have to always be aware, what Thomas Jefferson said, the price of liberty is constant vigilance. It's like fire, the first technologies people had they're double-edged swords. So, you could be on your cell phone all day, or you could use it as a tool that serves you. So, people have become obsessive. I become obsessive. So it can know you, it can help single out your thoughts, but it's not, I don't want to, this is me, empower it with an in-souled being, because I don't think it'll ever be that. Yeah, some people say aliens are using AI to communicate with us. I don't believe that one. I don't believe they're taking over. I mean, they could be, but I think it's a tool for our highest good. And like fire, it can have its destructive elements. So constant vigilance is like, we always have to be aware, how much are we empowering our tools and not ourselves? But it serves us. It's here to serve.
Well, you've got the Transcendence Retreat. You've got your upcoming remote viewing class. What else do you have coming up that you want people to know about?
Well, thank you. Actually, I was chosen to host, to MC the upcoming MUFON conference, the National MUFON conference in Cincinnati, for probably the oldest continuous UFO organization on the planet, Mutual UFO Network. That was a great honor. We have people like Barbara Lamb coming. We have a nice mixture this year between the tech elements of the UFO and the real experiencer elements. Deborah Cabal, who was the subject of Intruders, Bud Hopkins' book, is going to be speaking there. We have, I think Gary Nolan was supposed to speak there, but I haven't seen his name on the latest posters. This guy, Thomas Jane, I don't know who he is, but he sounds like, do you know him?
Yeah, I had him as a guest. He's the actor from a great television show, The Expanse. But he's famous for other movies too. He was at Contact in the Desert, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he was there, but I didn't get to meet him, but he will be at the MUFON conference. So that's something I'm really excited about, hosting that. I'm glad they chose me. So it's good to be out there. And then I'm also being a judge at the Psy Games. Have you heard about the Psy Games? You should interview that guy.
I've had him. I've had Akeem on, yes.
Right. So I'm going to be participating in there, giving a lecture about the quantum mind and non-human intelligence, which, just one more point about the remote viewing as it connects in with this, is that if we are this non-local awareness, and that awareness is not limited to the human body, that awareness has the ability to interact with other awarenesses that are also not human. So what it comes down to essentially is that we are the aliens in a human body. Aliens mean that we're not, consciousness is not of a human creation. It's an emergent property. So we are on equal footing with all those other life forms out there that are using conscious awareness, and the mode of interaction is this conscious interface. So we, in a sense, we have access to all the other realms. And I actually use remote viewing for making contact in the advanced courses. I say, okay, if we can all get the target of what we know here, then let's go off planet. Let's see what these other beings have to say to us about their technologies, or what messages to the earth, what do they look like? And so that's where it gets really exciting, because we can remote view targets we know, or we can go off planet. And if we all have the basis down, if we all get pretty much the aspects of the target, then I feel confident the group can be aligned enough to go to another star system. I know this is really out there, and see who we meet, see if we get a similar message, see if we see similar beings. I think, wow, that gets really exciting, because we're exploring the cosmos with our minds. But why not? If we're not local, why can't we do that? And I think we absolutely can. I think the government's actually doing that with psionics. So I'm doing, anyway, that's a little side note on remote viewing. So I'm doing the side games. I'm doing kind of I think it's called the Wisdom of Light conference in the Punta Gorda outside of Fort Myers. What is it called there? I'll send you the things for that. I'm doing Suzanne Ross's Sedona Ascension retreat next March, which will be really exciting. So there's so many things coming up, because I don't know if I'm getting more popular or the events are getting, but people are coming together to share information. And it's a group process, this evolution into this next phase of human culture. And I think the more we get together, just on your podcast, it's like gives opportunity for people to think about new reality, something new. It plants seeds and it stimulates thoughts in you and the viewer, that lets them think something different.
Well, speaking of new realities, that's the name of your YouTube channel as well.
Yes, it is.
And if you live in
It
New
is.
York, how do they watch your TV show?
I have to, I used to be on Manhattan Cable. I have to check to see if I'm still on, because I put all my attention into YouTube. So Manhattan Neighborhood Network was the station I'm on. I think most of those shows are now all on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/new realities. I do speak at different conferences in New York, the New Life Expo. I think the New Open Center, which they call the New Center, is doing something with me. I don't know. I'm out there, but it's more non-local, my message now. But come to the Psy Games in Charlottesville. That's going to be a fantastic gathering. Come to the MUFON conference. Come to definitely San Diego in September 27th to 28th. We have some amazing. Can I just tell you who's going to be there at the?
Sure.
We have Riz Verk. Have you interviewed him about the simulation theory?
Yep.
And then we have Ann Tucker. You know her?
Yeah, I've had her a couple of times.
Isn't she great? Sarah Brexman Cosme,
Yep.
the past life person. Aaron Apke. Do you know Aaron Apke?
I've had him. Yep.
But what I like about all these people coming together is that we can dialogue with each other. We can take all those different pieces of the puzzle, because I think all those people are fantastic, but they all have their own little specialty. How do we put those pieces together? How do we put all those parts of the elephant together to make a new thesis of what human beings are capable of being aware of and functioning? So everyone has their specialty, but I like to weave it together in panel discussions and see how maybe something can stimulate a new awareness in the collective. So that's the benefit, I think, of having people lecture. Like, where does Anne's message of the angelics coming in with this burst of light hook up with Sarah Brexman's Cosme future lives vision? And where's that alignment? And where do they come into, an actuality of something greater? So it's like a fusion. it's like a synergy that I think it's really exciting when these people come together. Otherwise, you could just see them online, but having them all live here interacting with an audience gives an element of new possibilities.
Before we wrap it up, can you leave us with a last positive message?
Yes, I can, because the world is changing, and yes, there's more, in a way, tension, but there's more energy, there's more shifting, there's more UFO phenomena happening around the world. There's something else coming into our field that we have to integrate. We have to step out of the old realities and be aware that we are on the edge, the threshold of a new time. Yes, with AI, yes, with the telepathy tapes, yes, with the understanding of what remote viewing is in terms of an expanding consciousness. So we as a human race are becoming a new species, because once we know, just by doing simple remote viewing, that we're infinite and our minds are tapped into this flow of forever that's moving through our being with a creative inspiration every minute, then it gives us an opportunity to accelerate the positive aspects of our culture, and to become greater beings, to become a new humanity of connection, of quantum entanglement with each other. There's no separation between me and you energetically. Just have, as you said, well, there's something else going on there. It's because you're aware of the energies here. And when we come into that place of oneness, where we realize we're all part of one superorganism, that's one aspect. And my favorite quote is by H.G. Wells, who wrote The War of the Worlds, but like 40 years later, he wrote a book called, I think, The Global Brain, where he said the kind of epilogue there was, someday people look back at old newspapers or articles and think, was there ever such a world? Was there ever such a world where we would drop bombs and neglect the homeless and let people go hungry? I mean, was there ever such a world where we didn't know we were all part of the same super being here? So I think that's our evolution. That's where we're heading to as a collective awareness of one being. And then we hook up with the rest of the other beings who are already in that superposition, that oneness of their being, and we form another level of the whole, which evolves not just awareness, but evolves on a soul level. I think it's all about soul expansion for compassion, love, and a greater knowledge. I think knowledge is key, because it lets us have more experiences here. We want new experiences. We don't want the same old dramas that humans have been going through. There's so much that awaits us as when we tap into these new realities, that it's continuously exciting and full of unknown possibilities.
Alan, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest again.
Jeff, always nice to share your intelligent conversation, because you're helping me search deeper into myself for more answers. So you're not just saying, thank you very much, next question. You're taking it, digesting it, giving it back to me so I can go deeper. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.